Do you like that waterfall? I think it's rather nice, actually, the waterfall sound. They reckon water's sort of therapeutic or something. Anyway, 20 centigrade, which is 70 Fahrenheit, 83% humidity, can't read my own scribble, 1020 millibars on the barometer, and the flag is kind of, well, it's trying to make out there's a bit of a breeze from the east. Yes, it is, a bit of a breeze from the east. Overcast, but I can see a patch of blue up there. We went to Arundel yesterday, which was rather nice, and we walked around Swanbourne Lake. I'll tell you a bit more about that in a while. I got too hot. I walked right the way around the lake. I'm trying to get my steps up because apparently I'm pre-diabetic or whatever, or verging on pre-diabetic. Is that right? I don't know. Yeah, verging on pre-diabetic. So I've got to be careful what I eat, which I am anyway, and I've got to get some exercise in. Sister-in-law said that she heard on the BBC, I wouldn't listen to them, anyway, she heard on the BBC that you only need to do 7,000 steps a day. You know all this steps business, Apple Watches and Fit things and whatever. Well, people say, oh, you need to do 10,000 a day, 15,000 a day and all this stuff. Apparently there's a study that's being carried out. Yes, another study, probably costs millions to do it, surveys and studies, and you only need to do around 7,000 steps a day to be healthy. Yesterday I did about 7,500 steps, so that's all right. So today I'm healthy. Well, I'm not, because my stupid watch thing said that my sleep was 2 hours 50 minutes. 2 hours 50 minutes? I think it's gone wrong. It doesn't seem to think that I sleep properly at all these days. If it's right, then, well, there's something seriously wrong. Anyway, there we are. Don't worry about all that nonsense. Didn't have Fitbit watches and stuff like that in the Stone Age days. They went hunting and kept healthy. They didn't even go to the dentist, did they? Mind you, I've often thought about the Stone Age days, or any days back then, come to think of it. If you fell over and broke your leg or your arm, what did they do? Just let it heal in a weird position, I suppose. These days, of course, we've got doctors and hospitals. Mind you, the doctors are on strike. OK, let's move on. I've just opened the window because it's rather hot in here, so you might hear some traffic going past. Now, when I was at the pub, do you remember I went to the pub the other day where that chap was really loud? I sat outside. Quite a few emails about that. Thank you for all your messages. Oh, by the way, I think I've said this before. Anyone listening on YouTube, if you comment on YouTube, I don't get an email anymore to say so-and-so has commented on your blah, blah, blah. YouTube have stopped doing that, so I now have to go through all the comments to see what's going on. This is why sometimes I haven't replied for 2 or 3 days. Don't worry about it, I will reply. So when I was sitting there, away from the noise, but there goes the car. So when I was sitting outside, away from the immediate noise from that chap, I hope he's not listening. It was lovely, really. I really enjoyed the music. No, I didn't. I was looking at the shops. When I was a child, those shops were only, a few hundred yards, I suppose, from where I lived. And I used to go over there. Have I told you this before? Probably. If I'm becoming repetitive, just put it down to old age, heat, and verging on pre-diabetic. I used to go around the back of the shop, get 3 or 4 Tizer bottles. Who remembers Tizer? Wasn't it lovely? I think you can still get it. Take them into the shop, and I got threepence each on the bottles. Remember the old threepenny bits? Excellent. So you get 3 threepenny pieces if you take 3 bottles in. And then a few days later, nip round the back of the shop. There was only a little wall to climb over. Just take some bottles out of one of the crates, go into the shop, and you get your threepence each. I know it was a criminal offence, wasn't it? I suppose it was theft. I don't know. Anyway, one day I went round. I thought, I want to buy some fireworks. I know, I'll go and get some Tizer bottles, take them into the shop. There's barbed wire. I think I told you this the other day, didn't I? There's barbed wire all coiled along the top of the wall. I couldn't get in. And there were other kids that used to do this little scam as well. Some of them turned up and were looking at each other. Well, that's mean. That's a bit unfair, isn't it? Stone their crows. So that was the end of that. What we had to do then was buy a bottle of Tizer, drink it, and then take the bottle back. But of course that wasn't very profitable, was it? Now, looking at the shops there, There was the radio and TV shop. In fact, the aerial mast, there's a big aerial mast, it's still there. There aren't any aerials on it anymore. There used to be loads. There's just one ordinary TV aerial now. They had various aerials up there for the TV workshop. In fact, I knew the chap that worked there, the TV engineer. He was a friend of the family. Nick, his name was. Nick, I don't suppose he's around now. And he was the one that really encouraged me to get into radio and TV repair work. One day he came round, he took the chassis out of our telly in the lounge, okay, and I'm nearly on the floor next to him, highly interested in what was going on. He was explaining it, and he tipped the chassis up. There's all these components underneath, a mass of components. And I said to him, how do you know what you're doing? What do you do? Where do you start? I must have been about 10 years old. And he was explaining various things to me. And that was it. I wanted to become a TV engineer. So I did. Nick started it all off, and his shop was over there where I was looking from the noisy pub. There was the World Stores. Who remembers the World Stores? Do you remember that? That was the first kind of, well, it wasn't a supermarket because it wasn't self-service. You go in there with your list and you read out from your list. I want a tin of baked beans. Certainly, madam, he'd say, as I stood next to my mum. My mum's got the list. Certainly, madam. He'd go off and come back with a tin of beans. I want a bag of flour. And she'd go through this list. He'd keep disappearing and coming back, put it all on the counter. He'd tell her how much it was. He'd put it all into a carrier bag, not plastic, a paper carrier bag, pack it all in there for her. And as I've said many times over the years, deliver it for nothing if you wanted. My mum would carry it home, or I'd carry it for her if it wasn't too much. If it was a lot of shopping, he'd say, I'll drop that round. I'll get the lad to drop that round in about half an hour. No charge, no extra charge for that. Fantastic. Happy days. There was a wool shop where they sold wool and cotton and knitting needles and patterns and goodness knows what. In fact, there was a thing on the telly this morning on the news. They were saying that sewing and needlework is dying out in Britain. And they were saying, should schools teach this? Well, of course schools should teach this. In the old days, it was called domestic science. Who remembers that? Well, I don't, because I was at the boys' school. Now, that's sexist, isn't it? Am I allowed to say that? They didn't teach boys because that was the job for the housewife. Oh, dear. Digging herself another hole. No, seriously, that's the way it was back then. What is it they say on telly now if there's an old film? You may be offended because some of the language or whatever, that's how it was at the time. Is it, I don't know, some rubbish like that? I mean, who's offended anyway? You're watching Dixon of Dock Green and they say something, oh, I don't like, I'm going to complain. I'm going to write to the BBC and complain. Because in Dixon of Dock Green, they said so-and-so, blah, 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 back in the 60s. Anyway, they were asking, should this be taught in schools? Well, it was. As I've said before, the boys' school, they learnt woodwork, metalwork and all that sort of thing. The girls, domestic science, cooking, sewing, knitting and typing. Not only housewife stuff, they learnt typing as well. Isn't it funny how things come round, what goes round comes round? Is that the saying? So in the old days, they taught girls how to sew and knit, and they're now wondering whether they should do that again. I don't know. Isn't it a load of rubbish? I don't know who's in charge of schools, probably some idiot. In fact, I'm not quite sure who's in charge of anything these days. They're all idiots. Now, I've got a list here. Let me check my list to see what's going on, if I can read it, that is. It says here, the countryside in the old days. Picnics, relaxing, families relaxing, kids climbing trees. I'll go into that in a minute. Oh, by the way, when we were in Arundel, this wasn't at the Swanbourne Lake place, I hasten to add. Trish had an iced latte? Some nonsense like that. And I had a ginger beer in this little cafe place. £8.30. Is that normal? Or am I way out of touch with prices these days? £8.30. My ginger beer was 275 millilitres. Whatever that is, I read it on the bottle. It doesn't mean anything to me. Well, it does. It means it's a very small bottle. 275 millilitres. Trish had a iced latte, whatever that is. £8.30. Stone the crows. I said to Trish, you haven't ordered sandwiches and cake and everything to go with it? She said, no, that's just the drinks. That's quite normal these days. Normal? Crikey, what's going on? £8.30 for a coffee and a very small ginger beer. There we are, no good moaning about it. Where's my list again? I keep losing my list. It's the heat, what is it? It's only 23 in here at the moment. It's not too bad. Oh, now the flag's doing nothing. It's just sort of sagged around the pole. There goes another car. They haven't started work over the back yet. The gas men have gone, which is a result. Let's go into this thing about the countryside in the old days. I was listening to some programme on the telly, as I do. I just dropped that on the desk, look, and made a noise. I'm not going to edit that out. That's an outtake that's going to be an intake. And they were saying in the old days, I think, what's that? You like noises, you lot have said. Oh no, leave the noises in, we like the noises. There's the seagulls now. I might as well sit out in the front garden and record this. So they said on the telly, some programme or other, in the old days people used to go for picnics at the weekend. Most people worked 6 days a week. They only had Sunday. And they were saying how good it was for the family as a unit, mum, dad, 2.5 kids, or whatever it is. Well, back then it was 4 kids, 6 kids, 8 kids. I think my mum was one of 8. A friend of mine, he was one of 16. Can you believe that? The same mum, but 2 different dads. They had 8 kids each, these dads, with this mum. Oh, I knew her. I used to go round there and I saw her. 16 children she'd had. She looked all right. She looked quite healthy on it, in fact. Anyway, that's another issue. They were saying, though, for the family unit, on a Sunday you get in your car, your old Morris Oxford or your Morris 1000 or whatever you had, Ford Consul. Remember those? They were nice. Column change, of course, the old gear stick on the column. Oh, anyway, let's not get into cars because I'll be here all day talking about the old days. Wooden dashboard, bench seat. No, stop it. So they were saying how good it was, the family get in the car. Mum's made up the picnic. You've got your picnic hamper with cups and saucers and knives and forks, all plastic. Well, Bakelite back then. Your thermos flask with tea in there. Drinks for the children, not fizzy cans of drink, but orange juice made up in bottles and things. And you'd all go off to the countryside, sit somewhere in a field. The kids would run around, they'd find a tree to climb. They were just saying how good it was for the family unit. And, of course, for the parents. It's the dad's day off. He works 6 days a week. It's his day off. He can just chill out and relax. The mum can just sit there and relax. In fact, I remember my mum, we'd go on a picnic. She'd take her knitting. She did. We'd all be sitting there munching our sandwiches, and afterwards there's mum getting her knitting out with a knitting needle, click, clack, click, clack, click, clack. Was it drop one, pearl one? No, pearl one, knit one, or knit one, pearl one. I don't know what it was. And she was knitting a scarf or a jumper or something for one of us kids. But they were saying how relaxing it was and how good it was for the family unit. Whereas these days, a lot of families don't even eat together, do they? They eat in their rooms. They don't watch telly together. They watch telly in their rooms or on their device. Is it device? What do they call these? iPads, iPods? E-pads. I don't know. When I was a boy, seriously, I used to love the picnics. If my parents said, picnic today, mum's packing up the hamper, making sandwiches, it was a delight. Yay! Excellent. And of course, the children could let off steam, as they used to put it. Do you remember that? Let off steam. Let the children run all around the place and exhaust themselves. The idea being that night they'd sleep well. We slept well anyway as kids. I wish I slept well now. I remember in the old days, head on the pillow, that's it. Next thing I knew, it's morning, time for school. Don't mention school. Vintage cars, love them. School, hated it. So we won't go into school. And those teachers, oh, they were. Right, moving on. Have a look at my notes again. I've made a load of notes this time because I keep forgetting things. In the week, I think, I must mention so-and-so. Oh, I must say this, I must say that. And I keep forgetting. It must be old age, I suppose. Another shop that was in this parade of shop. Well, there was everything. There was the butcher, the greengrocer. The butcher, in fact, he won every year, I think, for a number of years. He won the national sausage making competition, was it? And he had a big sort of banner over his shop, the 1975 sausage winner of the year or something. And every year, I remember, for quite a few years, he won the competition. I suppose he made sausages and judges or whatever would come round, try them out, taste them, cook them, try them, and he won, so that was good. There was the sweet shop, of course, where they sold toys as well, and fireworks. That was good fun. There was a post office. They're rare these days, don't see post offices anymore. Stone the crows. Post office, what's that? Go into town, ask a local policeman, excuse me, where's the nearest post office? Well, no, you can't do that, can you? Because there's not a local policeman anymore. I remember asking policemen directions. In my teens, I'd go somewhere, say Brighton. I'd go over to Brighton or wherever. I'd see a copper. Excuse me, can you tell me where so-and-so? Yes, you go down here, turn left, second right, and you'll see it there. You can't find a copper these days. What other shops were there? Ironmonger. Do you know the little ironmonger? People will remember this locally. Anyone local to me, you'll remember this. Belcher's, it was called. Belcher's Ironmonger. That was next to the post office. There was a betting shop. I'm pretty sure there was. What do they call them? A turf accountant. Yes, there was a turf accountant there. There was a tiny little shoe shop. Later there was a pet shop. Oh, a car shop, a car spares shop. Now, of course, that was the place to go when you got your first car, when you're young. Always over the car spares shop, buying bits and pieces. Or, of course, not too far away, 3 miles away, was the car dump. You'd go over there with your toolbox, whatever you wanted. You wanted a starter motor for, let me see, what sort of car? A Vauxhall Victor. You'd find an old Vauxhall Victor, there it is, the bonnet's been ripped off. Or the hood, I should say. If you're in the US of A. You unbolt the starter motor, take the wire off it, go into the shed. What do you want for this, mate? Well, give us a fiver or what? No, he didn't talk like that back then. Give us a fiver, mate. That's what he'd say. Give us a fiver, mate. So you give them the fiver. You didn't know whether the starter motor was any good or not, of course. You take it home, fit it on your car, job done for a fiver. It's a shame the car dumps have gone. I used to love poking around over there. Things like car radios they would take out of the cars and they'd have them in the, well, it wasn't a shed, well, it was a big shed, I suppose. And he had shelves full of car radios, all untested. You just sort of took your luck, really. I don't know whether you could take one back if it didn't work. Probably not, knowing the chap. I took an old Renault car. Someone gave me a Renault, is it Renault? Someone gave it to me. Do you want that? I said, oh, that's all right. I drove it home. In fact, I took it along the main road. No insurance or anything. A bit daft back then, really, wasn't it? And it went like a bomb. I thought, this is all right. I'll do this up. But it was very rusty. And in the end, my parents said, do we have to have that dumped down the driveway? It's been there for weeks. So I drove it over the car place. And I said to the chap in the shed, what do you give me for that then? Nothing. What do you mean nothing? I don't want it. If you want to leave it here, leave us the keys, leave it here. I'll take it, but I'm not paying you for it. I thought, well, that's nice. He's a businessman, isn't he? He'd have driven it round to where all the other cars were, and then people start taking bits of it, and he makes a fortune. I thought, well, there we are. That's business for you, isn't it? Something else I heard on the telly the other day. I'm not always watching telly. I just catch these snippets. They're thinking about making the retirement age 74. Well, hang on, it was 60 for women and 65 for men. Then it went up to, 65 for women and 67 for men. I don't know what it is now. But now they want people to retire at 74. You're not going to have any retirement years left, to enjoy. I'm 74. Imagine if I just retire this year. Now I'm 74. Well, I'm getting a bit old and sort of falling apart. 65 for men was good because you've got a good few years ahead of you while you're still active and reasonably fit. I'm active and reasonably fit, but nothing like I was kind of 10 years ago. Anyway, 74, the next thing it'll be 80, the next thing there'll be no retirement at all. Apparently, the country has run out of money. Britain has run out of money. I'm not surprised we keep giving it to other countries. We keep sending millions and billions abroad. Then they say, oh, we haven't got any money. Oh, you'll have to retire at 74 because we can't pay you your state pension yet. So what have we got? No post offices, no policemen locally, doctors are on strike. At least it's a nice summer. The weather's been pretty good this summer. I've got some nasturtiums in the garden. Do you know what nasturtiums are? You can eat the leaves, they're rather nice. And I saw these two cabbage white butterflies a few weeks ago. They kept fluttering around the garden. I was shooing them away because I know what they do, the cabbage whites, they lay eggs. Anyway, they disappeared in the end. We don't have cabbages or anything like that. The other day I noticed the nasturtiums had been eaten to bits. The leaves had all but gone, and they were covered in caterpillars. That's those butterflies, absolutely covered in caterpillars. So I pulled the plants up and chucked them away. That was that. It's a shame because I like the nasturtiums, the nice orange flowers. I don't suppose you're into gardening, are you? What should we talk about next? I think I've run out on my list. Oh, there was one thing. What's this here? Oh, I keep getting these news. Look, migrants staying in taxpayer-funded asylum hotels caught shoplifting. Well, that's not news, is it? We all knew that. That's not news. Oh, Donald Trump's coming over today. What day is it? Hang on, where's my... Friday, it says up on the wall clock there. Friday, 23 degrees, 25th July, 2025. I need all that because I forget. So yes, Donald Trump's coming over today. He's going to open a golf course. Then he's going to have a chat with Keir Starmer. So yes, old Trump. There might be protests apparently. Do you know there are protests about everything these days? We did have protests in the old days, but not every 5 minutes like now. It seems every 5 minutes there's someone protesting about this, another one about that. Groups of people all going off to so-and-so town to protest. I don't know. It's all too much. Tomorrow, Saturday, we've got all the family round. It's not the normal cafe day. It's mother-in-law's birthday. Well, it's not actually her birthday tomorrow. It's whenever next week. But we're having a birthday bash for her tomorrow. So there's a cake and there's going to be sandwiches, a sort of buffet thing. So that's going to be good fun. I just hope I sleep well tonight. Tonight. Oh dear. Music quiz at the club. Oh, comes round so quickly. It's only once a month. Music quiz at the club where that bloke shouts. He does shout. Why do people... I've said this before. Why do people shout? Anyway, Tricia loves it. Her sister loves it. So I shall put up with it. And then, hopefully, have a good night's sleep. It's now Saturday. We went to the club. It was cancelled. The music quiz we saw on Facebook before we went. Trish said, look, the music quiz is cancelled. The chap isn't too well. That's the result. I thought not for the poor chap that was ill, but that's the result. We're not going. Oh, no, we are. There's going to be the general knowledge quiz instead. Oh, goodness me. So I couldn't get out of it. Anyway, we won. What did we win? £24 or something or other. Something like that. So that was good. I say we won. I answered one question. I just got one right out of dozens of questions. I'm no good at general knowledge. Oh, by the way, I've put some photos on rants.info. Only 3, I think, of the lake, Swanbourne Lake at Arundel. There's, is it a picture of me recording something? Have a look anyway. rants.info. And the flag has turned up. Did I say it's now Saturday? I did. The postman's just been and the flag has turned up. So that's good, the Union flag. I can replace that tatty one. Oh, shout-outs again. We've got Mary. Is this a genuine one? Mary in Maryland. Is that genuine, Mary? OK, we'll say it's genuine. Mary in Maryland. What else are we going to have? Della in Delaware. Sorry about that. And Eric in Texas. We've done Texas, haven't we, already? And we have, who's this, in Portugal. I can't read my writing again. Isn't it dreadful? I ought to do this properly. I think it's Pedro. Apologies if that's not correct. Pedro in Portugal. Mike in Scotland. And we've got Harry. Where's Harry? Oh, in Finland. Harry in Finland. I wonder whether you are Finnish Harry or whether you are a British Harry and you've gone over there for some reason. There we are. I've got some audio clips. Hang on, let me sort them out. You can have a listen to... This was me actually recording at Swanbourne Lake, and you'll see the photo of me with the record. Hang on a second, let me organise this. Well, here I am at Swanbourne Lake. Trish has just taken a photo of me while I was chatting into the recorder. It's a nice breeze here. We've walked all the way around the lake. It's about a mile all the way around. Needless to say, I'm puffed out. I'm not very fit. My sister-in-law reckons I should do at least 7,000 steps a day. Well, I shall see what happens at the end of today. Apparently it was on the BBC News. They say don't worry about 10,000 steps or more. As long as you do 7,000, you're okay.
keeps you healthy. So there we are. Look at the colour. Well, you can't, but the colours, different colours of the trees. The lake looks beautiful. It's down. The water level is way down, actually. There's rowing boats out there. Well, there's quite a wind whipped up now. When I first went out in a rowing boat decades ago, it's quite shallow. The water was crystal clear. I came across a crater. I looked down and there's this crater. Now I can't swim, and that frightened me. I didn't like it. So every time I went in a boat after that, I avoided that area where there's this huge crater. I don't like deep water. I suppose it's because I can't swim. Well, would you believe it? Tricia has now decided to walk round the lake again. It's another mile she's going to do. I can't, I'm too hot. So I'm now standing in the trees. It's quite cool here, a bit of a little breeze, which is rather nice. I shall wait for her to come back. As you know, I like the woods. Have I mentioned that before? I like the woods. It's rather nice here, just that little breeze. So look it up on the map, Swanbourne Lake in Arundel, West Sussex. Swanbourne Lake. I looked up Swanbourne Lake last night. I wanted to know a little bit about the history. Apparently it was a mill pond back in 1700 and something or other. But more interestingly, in the 40s during the war, apparently a German aircraft was shot down and they found the remains of it in the lake when the water went down. It was at 1980 something or other, a very dry year. The water in the lake just went down, down, down and exposed just about everything. They found the remains of a German aircraft, but 2 unexploded bombs. How about that? So when I was 12 years old, rowing around the lake, not only was I rowing over that crater that frightened the life out of me, I was rowing over unexploded bombs. Stone the crows. So that's interesting, isn't it? Tangmere, on the way to Chichester, it's between Worthing and Chichester. Look up Tangmere. It was an aircraft place. It was an aerodrome, I think they used to call them, during the war. And apparently a plane took off from Tangmere and shot down the German aircraft, which then landed in Swanbourne Lake or something like that. Quite interesting. I won't go into the history of the lake because it's interesting but a little bit boring to rabbit on about, if you see what I mean. I have seen the lake very low. In fact, there's an island. I think I took a picture of Trish on the island a few years back. You can walk out when the water goes down, down, down. It's just dry mud, all cracked, dry sort of clay type mud. And you can walk out to the island. Well, which isn't an island anymore, it's part of the land. When we went the other day, the water was down quite a lot because we've had a lot of dry weather. We've had the odd torrential rain shower, but that's just not enough. And we were walking around and I said to Trish, what's all this here? I don't remember all this. There's all these tree roots and bits and pieces. I said, I don't remember that at all. I went and had a look. She said, well, that's where the water is normally. I'm looking round. Oh, yes, of course it is. Yes, this here is normally under a few feet of water. So quite a fascinating place anyway, especially about the unexploded bombs. You never know what you're going to find, do you, in deep water? Well, not particularly deep, the lake. In fact, even when the lake is full, I reckon you could walk out to the island because it's only 2, maybe 3 feet at the most. I think the reason I don't like deep water is because you don't know what's down there. I remember my brother-in-law and myself, the 3 of us, were in a boat. We went in a speedboat along the coast and we stopped. My brother said, I'm going to have a swim. Now, we were quite a way out from the shore. I don't know how far, half a mile perhaps. And there's all this seaweed coming up, this kelp stuff, all floating just under the surface. And I said, you don't know what's down there. You dive into that, you might get caught up in the seaweed and dragged under by monsters. And he said, don't be stupid. Anyway, I put him off, he wouldn't go in. He said, I don't think I'll go in. And I said, you're afraid of the monsters? He said, no, there are no monsters. He said, but you're possibly right about the seaweed. I could get hooked up in that. And I just laughed, I said, you're scared of the deep sea monsters. I just don't like deep water. As I said, probably because I can't swim. Thinking about Swanbourne Lake again, there must be some deeper parts. There are parts of the lake
further, where would it be, to the north, there's a fence across, sort of underwater fence that sticks out. Maybe it's deeper there, because I don't know where the aircraft would have been found. How come it's exposed when the water level goes down if the lake's only, 3 feet deep anyway? So I must be wrong about that. It must be deeper over the other end. That's probably why there's a fence across. I don't remember anything on the news. I'm sure it said the 1980s it was discovered, these bombs. I don't remember anything on the news about that. What was I doing in the 80s? Do you know, I can't remember. 80 something or other. So in 1981, what was I? I was 30, wasn't I? So we got North Carolina's son. He was around, so what would I have been doing? Just going to work, I suppose, paying the mortgage, paying the bills, all that stuff. But I don't know why I missed that on the news. The forecast, well, I'm not going to tell you the forecast today. The weather at the moment, quite a breeze from the west. Dark clouds coming over from the north. Looks a bit dull out there, but it's pretty warm. It's about 25 out there. 25 centigrade, which is about 80, is it? Double it, add 30, so that's 50. Yes, 80-ish Fahrenheit. Another warm and muggy day. They keep on about thunderstorms again. So have a look at Swanbourne Lake on the map. Also Arundel Castle. That's nice. Oh, as we drove past on the way to the lake, we passed the entrance to the castle. There's a load of knights in armour on horses and things. They were doing some reenactment day, which looked quite good to see these knights all in their armour on the horses with all the paraphernalia all over the horses and stuff. It looked quite good. We have been into Arundel Castle a couple of times. It's very expensive though. I forget how much. It is very expensive. It's a shame some of these places are just too much for some people, and some families can't afford it. You know, if you've got mum and dad, a couple of kids, you end up spending a fortune, because also when you're in there, you want to buy an ice cream or a coffee, a cup of tea. They just can't afford it. I don't know why places have to be so expensive. Amberley Museum, that's brilliant. If you become a member, which doesn't cost a lot, you've only got to go a couple of times, and you've already saved your money, you know. And that's a wonderful place to go to. As I keep banging on about every time I talk to you, Amberley Museum. Oh, I think we're going there tomorrow, Sunday. Oh, yes, Trish was saying tomorrow at Amberley they're doing a 1960s day. I'll have to take the recorder. I must make a note, take the recorder. I'm not sure what it's all about, just 1960s. I don't know whether it's cars or fashion. I think it's a bit of everything. So that'll be quite interesting. Today we've got, yes, everyone's turning up shortly. The family are turning up for mother-in-law's birthday, which isn't actually today, it's next week sometime. But we're having a bit of a bash for her today. That'll be good. I'm hoping we can sit in the garden. I've put all the chairs out there. Do you know, in the old days, I think, thinking back, in the old days, we didn't sit in the garden. We had deck chairs. I think mum and dad had a deck chair. But we didn't have all these chairs and tables that people do today. In fact, we didn't have a barbecue. I don't remember having well, they weren't barbecues back then, were they? That's a fairly new thing. Where did we get that idea from? Australia, America, I suppose. Probably saw things on the telly and we started doing barbecues. Picnics, as I said earlier, picnics, they were the thing. Off in the car, out to the woods. Perhaps that's why I like the woods so much. They remind me of the happy days of picnics. Thank you for all your emails. raisrants@protonmail.com if you want to say anything. raisrants@protonmail.com. Ray, nice to hear from you. Photos of old TV aerials. Who remembers back in the 50s, the 60s, the big telly aerials? There was an X, wasn't there? X was the BBC channel, or an H. Some of them were X-shaped, some of them were H-shaped, huge things up on people's chimneys. And the ITV one, that was the other little one with all the little elements on it, pointing at the transmitter wherever that was. Yes, thanks for the photos, Ray. That's interesting. I don't think we've got any left around here. There was an H-type aerial up the road on top of a row of shops, but I think that since, someone's either taken it down or it's fallen down. I was quite surprised it was still there, actually, when I last saw it. Must have been, 2 years ago? I think that's gone. I did read somewhere or hear somewhere that in certain areas, people are saying, is it councils, government, whoever it is, are saying, if you've got these H aerials, you're not allowed to take them down for some reason. Well, because it's kind of part of our heritage. No, not heritage. You know what I mean. They were saying don't take them down. Imagine having a listed aerial. You know, you get listed buildings, don't you? Listed trees. You can't chop a tree down. Imagine having a listed aerial on your chimney. I can't take the aerial off my chimney because it's a listed aerial. That's funny. But I do remember those H and X aerials. When I was in the TV workshop, we had aerial riggers that went out. They'd bring old aerials back that they'd taken down or replaced or whatever. They were huge. Up on the chimney, they didn't look that big, but they were actually huge. And they were quite easy to modify for amateur radio, ham radio type things. And I remember taking the H aerials home or sawing them up with a hacksaw, the bit I wanted to make for those in the know, to make a dipole. So that was all good fun back in the old days, in the 60s. Ray's also sent me photos of telegraph poles. I wonder why they're called telegraph. Well, I know why they were called telegraph poles in the 1800s, because they were telegraph, Morse code, which is called telegraph. They're telephone poles, aren't they? After that, they were telephone poles, but we still call them telegraph. And yes, Ray, we have them in our street. In fact, I'm looking, going across our front garden, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 telephone wires going across our front garden. Now, Ray was saying the day will come when they'll all be taken down. Ours won't. I'll tell you what they've done here. The wires going across the front garden aren't wires anymore. They're fibre optic. So what the people are doing, whoever it is now, is it the GPO, the General Post? No, it's BT, isn't it? British Telecom? I don't know who they are. Probably the gas board. What they're doing is running wires from the poles, or not wires anymore, replacing the wires with fibre optic. So you get your internet and your telly and all that stuff through the fibre optic cables going up to the poles. So the poles will stay. I suppose that's better than digging up the roads, isn't it? There we are, more progress for you. So now you know why they were called telegraph poles. You knew that anyway, didn't you? Time is ticking on. Mother-in-law will be here soon, so I better go. What is it the saying? Time waits for no man. And I'll tell you what, that cloud coming over from the north, it's coming over the South Downs and it's heading this way. It looks like it's going to rain. So I put the chairs out with the cushions and all that nonsense. I'm going to have to bring everything in by the look of it. That's British summer, isn't it? British summer. Isn't it wonderful? 1 minute you're roasting at about 100 million degrees. Next minute you've got to put a jacket on. There's wind, rain and cold. I suppose that's the excitement, isn't it, of living in Britain, the weather. That's probably why all we do here, Brits just talk about the weather, don't they, constantly. I don't know about, hello, how's your Bert's lumbago? Oh, not too bad. It's how's the weather? I shall love you and leave you. Ray's Rants at protonmail.com. Don't forget to go and have a look at the pictures. raysrants.info, the web page there, the website. Have a look at that. You'll see me standing by the lake. That's interesting, isn't it? I don't know. It's all good fun. As my old mate used to say in the old days, it's good, clean fun. Nothing wrong with that. Be good, be bad, don't get caught and all that stuff. Do let me know how you're getting on. Let me know what the weather's doing where you are. Let me know if you want to shout out about anything from your location, your town, your country or whatever it is. And I shall see you on Wednesday. And I must make a note, take the recorder with me tomorrow so I can bore you with even more commentary on Amberley Museum. Thanks for listening as always. Take care. Bye-bye for now.